What does true masculinity look like in today's world? And how do we separate power from ego, strength from control, and presence from dominance? Today, we're diving deep into the heart of masculinity, exploring the empowered versus the toxic and everything in between. Joining us is the spiritual bodybuilder whose work fuses fitness, emotional intelligence, and spiritual awakening. So, together, we'll break down what it really means to embody divine masculine energy in the gym, in relationships, and just in everyday life. So, please join me in welcoming Nahum, who's got a podcast on our channel, and he's going to be breaking down a lot of really important topics. And today, we figured one for the men out there is really fitting. So, welcome back to the show, Nam. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Bradley Nelson and iHeartRadio for your sponsorship, and to our audience and our fans. Please do not forget to like and subscribe, and don't leave because you're going to want to stick around for this one. So good to see you again. Always love seeing you. And how are you doing? Where are you at today? Because last time I talked to you, you were somewhere else, and now I feel like you're somewhere else. You're traveling the world all the time.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I do. Well, first, thank you for having me on again here, Lisa. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with you. Right now, I'm in Phoenix, but I just got done doing a little road trip out to LA, then Vegas, then Sedona, then back here. Just spread the word, doing a lot of work, and helping my fellow people out there, do the healing work. It's kind of it's my passion. Regardless of what I'm doing out there, I'm always trying to make my environment, the people and situations around it, better. So been really busy, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I think it really needs to get out there. First off, if you don't mind me just kicking it off here, yeah.
Please kick it
Okay.
off. Kick it off.
All right. So in this last generation of society, we've had a lot of focus on empowering the feminine, right? A lot of women are out there working,
Yes.
holding down, being head of households, and helping men while men have been going through their awakening, right? And men are still a little bit behind as far as the emotional intelligence is concerned. You see a lot of people now doing this work with biohacking and plant medicine and living this uh, higher vibrational life, I guess you could say. And really, all that means to me is really getting reconnected to the heart. And
Yep.
they say the longest journey is from the head into the heart. I think what that really means is we've lived in an ego-dominated society, a real patriarch, ego-driven society for thousands of years. And we are coming into a time where we're really seeing and waking up to the fact that that is just not healthy. The women, any really successful man you see out there has a woman supporting her behind him, right? Because men, when they begin to gain power, when they begin to make all this money, it's so easy to fall to temptation and to get in these bad habits and to connect to this authoritarian sort of like fear based. Well, I have the power, I have the money, so I can do whatever I want, right? And that is just, in my opinion, unacceptable because that is really what's wrong with the world, what keeps wars going, what keeps arguments and conflict going. And there is a fine line, right, between being a leader of your life through fear and being a leader of your life through authenticity. And I say authenticity because I believe through authenticity you express your love for humanity, your love for the world, your love and passion for whatever it is that you do. And I think a lot of men, they're not doing what they love to do. They don't know what their life purpose is. And the ones that do are falling into this trap of you got to go beast mode, you got to be a tough guy, you got to be hardcore. And honestly, that's what society has taught us, right? I know when I was in the military for 10 years, and they condition you into thinking that killing is cool and think that, being, closed-minded and just putting your head down and like, hurting yourself or hurting others to handle and get a specific outcome is a noble and honorable thing. And I can tell you right now from being in war that there's nothing noble or honorable about it at all. And
Yeah.
as the men, I believe men are starting to wake up. I'm seeing it slowly but surely, right? And as men are waking up, I kind of feel like the universe has to kick your ass a little bit. right? I know that the universe kicked my ass quite a bit, and that's what got me to see my own truth. But growing up, I grew up in Massachusetts, right? And out there, very like closed-minded, like shut up, don't cry, you got to be a man and be hard
Yes.
and work and like struggle and work hard and suffer in order to make ends meet. And of course, the positive sides of that is like, okay, you also have to be the provider and support your family, right? And
Right.
I think that that can be noble when equipped in an authentic, loving posture. However, you see around the world, particularly in the United States, from what I've seen, is a lot of families are broken. Fathers are not in the picture. Relationships between mother and father are strained at best, right? And that's creating a generation of children that don't know what it's like to have a father. Thus, everybody has daddy issues, men and women
Yeah.
alike, right? And then they express it in these dysfunctional ways. Women express it in toxic sexuality. Men express it in authoritarianism. And
Yep.
authoritarianism, I think a lot of people, again, with all the propaganda out there, they get a misunderstanding of what authoritarianism is. Really, it's ruling through power, as
Yeah.
opposed to ruling through authenticity. Now, authenticity doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to like you, because when you're authentic, you're
That's a
inevitably going to piss
fact.
people off. You're going to trigger the demons, right? So, so being able to trust your own heart and trust yourself will allow you to trust others and to create an environment of trust. However you feel about yourself, the environment is a reflection of that process, right? So, so look at your life. Like I know some influencers out there, like male influencers, this big alpha male thing. Um, they come off like you got to be tough, you got to be hard, wake up at 3 in the morning and go train for 6 hours and then go hustle and make money. But a lot of these people, they pay people to be around them. They don't actually have people that support them. They have
Right.
people that leech off them, that are parasites, because they themselves are parasites, right?
Right.
And I've met other, really successful men out there that are the provider, that do what they love, and are authentic in their approach and their nature. And they typically have much smaller circles of people. They tend to always ask questions and surround themselves with the people that will call them out too, right?
Mm.
We all need to be called out in a loving
Oh,
way, honest,
1,000%.
right?
Yes.
So if you have people around you that are just kind of kissing your ass and like not holding you accountable because they're afraid that they're not going to get the money, or they're not going to get whatever it is that you're giving them that is holding them afloat, then that is where you need to take a look at yourself. And,
Yeah.
and and also too, a lot of these people will go, they'll go rent a Lamborghini for a week and do a photo shoot with it, or they'll go to the gym, like they'll jump on a bunch of gear, go to the gym for a couple weeks, do a whole bunch of videos, and then get off because it's too much or it's unhealthy, right? So they're projecting this idea out in the world that is not their truth. And that will bring you temporary, money, or maybe temporary, you know, uh, opportunities for relationships, or even casual sex, which I also think is a very negative component to masculinity. But then eventually the people will screw you over, you'll lose everything, and everything will fall apart. It's like a deck of cards, right? It's like being on methamphetamine and getting to be able to write a book in 3 days and do a whole bunch of work, right? But then you crash, and then now you're an addict. Now your body needs
Right.
it, and now you've invited demonic entities into your body, and now spiritually you got to pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So you know,
absolutely.
and I break down a lot of these components in the spiritual aspects to physiological imbalances in my book, The Biohacker's Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding, because there is a spiritual component. If we're able to step back and look at the patterns of behavior in our life and see what's going on, see like how you're responding to external validation, right? It's so easy, and we live in a society of addicts. It's so easy to get addicted to external validation, to even like a lot of guys, like, look, we have a hormonal epidemic going on. I'd say probably in the world, right? But particularly in the United States, where we're being poisoned from every direction. So most men's testosterone levels are about half what they were 50 years ago, right?
Wow.
So that's where all the gender identity issues come into play. But we're not even talking about that here. We're talking about your biological male, right? Um, and
Yeah, I was
if
gonna ask you, so what does toxic masculinity mean? Like relate it to real life.
toxic masculinity means that you are allowing your ego-driven desires to fundamentally inspire you or motivate you to handle any kind of particular task in life, right?
Okay.
When the ego is in charge, it is fear-based. And I want to preface this with saying that ego is not inherently bad, right? But ego is not meant to be in charge, right? The heart's meant to be in charge, and then we express it through our ego, which is our individuation. So there are
Mm-hmm.
shadow aspects to the ego, and there are also positive aspects to the ego as well. Because without an ego, everybody would be the same, right? They say, we are all one, at the core, but we're also individuated in that all oneness to where humanity is we're meant to be interconnected by nature. We're not to be too independent, and we're not meant to be codependent. But those are also different aspects of toxic masculinity. Being hyper independent, having all this stuff, having all this money, but hoarding it to yourself, right? Being too materialistic. You got 8 cars. What do you need 8 cars for?
Yeah,
Right? How about
honestly.
you have one, maybe 2 cars, and then go invest the money in, a charity or a healing center, or help out children that, are homeless, or any inner city kids that don't have a chance, right? Go talk to them and inspire them to be a better version of themselves and not get caught
I
up in
will say
the
this,
thing.
unless you're like an actual collector and you love these cars so much and you like go to bed at night and you think about them and they're like that's cool. But if you're buying
Sure.
them because you want to show them off or because they make you feel powerful, then
Right.
that's not cool. That's not cool.
Absolutely not. It's a
No.
waste of resources, it's a waste of money, and it's just a
Yes.
waste of space, really, right?
Yeah.
And that is just feeding the dysfunctional components of the ego, right? And then
Yeah.
from that, you attract, like men will attract, gold diggers or money hungry women
I
that
was just
just
gonna say, like for me, that doesn't impress me. If I see a man in a nice car, I'm like, cool. But it's not like, oh my God, I want that man. It's like, okay, cool. Like there's
right,
a nice car and there's a man driving it. But for a woman who is not healed, that is like a moth to a flame. She will be like,
100%.
the only thing she sees drive by is the money sign. She doesn't even see a
Yeah.
man. She sees a dollar sign. And then she realizes it's male and she's like, I want to go jump in that car now, right?
Yeah, and of course, money is the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, money in itself is not
Totally.
evil, right? Because we need money in abundance, and that's the other side of the coin. Like a lot of spiritual people, like super spiritual people, they think that money is bad, right? Or a lot of them are broke. All right, that's not healthy masculine either. That's the
Mm.
antithesis of the opposing side, where the testosterone or the identity of the man is too weak, and so
Mm.
the toxic femininity is in control. Now, the toxic femininity has to do with lack of receptivity, has to do with insecurity in a judgment in the outside world about victimhood,
What
right?
does lack of receptivity mean in general terms?
Like, I don't know how to receive love. I don't know how to receive abundance. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel worthy, right? Self-worth issues,
Okay.
right? And energetically speaking, it means you have a weak root in solar plexus chakra. So
Mm.
so the karmic lessons will continue to spin in those areas in a week. So a root chakra represents feeling safe in life, feeling safe in your
Yeah.
body, the insecurity, right? Being grounded in this reality. And in the solar plexus, of course, is the ego. It's the individuated identity, right? And then a lot of times, if those are too weak, then the sacral chakra, which represents your sexuality and your connection to power and money, is also dysfunctional. So you disempower yourself to go seek out others that will take care of you monetarily
Mm.
or sexually, right? So this is where like a lot of like porn stars live or escorts or strippers. Um, people that give their sexuality away for the safety, quote unquote, because it's not real safety, right? Because now you're a slave to that external circumstance. On
So
the
it makes you feel, it gives you validation, it makes you
Yep,
feel wanted. Well, what is it about giving away
both.
yourself sexually? All of that?
You normally it's you utilize your sexuality for feelings of empowerment or feeling like you belong or that you're needed in some kind of way,
Okay.
right? Because you don't feel like you being you is being needed in the world enough.
Mm,
So now the opposite spectrum of that, of course, is you have an overly rigid root chakra and solar plexus chakra. So this is where it's my way or the highway. This is where I have tunnel vision and I'm going to make money no matter what, no matter who it hurts, no matter what I have to do. This is like the all or nothing attitude that we see like fairly dominant in the fitness industry, honestly, that beast mode or the
oh,
only
yes.
day was yesterday or like live hard or be I mean and like David Goggins, he's kind of an exception to the rule because he's some next
Mm,
level, not even human kind
yeah,
of thing. But
totally.
fundamentally, he's lived his life because of his upbringing to master and even kind of chase his fear and his demons, right? But
Mm,
that's also unhealthy. Like I love David Goggins. I think he's been a really powerful inspiration to a lot of people in certain areas. But at the same time, like he also thrives on hurting himself. And if
right.
we want to grow spiritually, the whole idea is loving yourself because when you love yourself, you love others, right? So however
Yeah,
you're treating yourself, everything outside of you is an example of that. So the whole hustle and grind like lifestyle, when you're passionate about what you do and you love what you do, then it's not really work, right? But I see a lot of people that get into like influencers in particular, and other coaches and things like that. It's so easy to get caught up and do it like I do it, and you gotta just keep working or hustle and grind until you just can't take anymore. No, it's about balance. When you have balance, right, then yeah, you may not have 8 cars, but you have a house, you have healthy relationships, you got a family, you got some money in the bank, and you're doing all right because the universe, God provides
yeah,
when you're living in your authenticity. So
absolutely.
so this is where, though, in this generation, it gets a little complicated, especially hormonally speaking, because of all the toxins and all the propaganda that's associated with how we're growing in this world. Because you have to get your blood work, you need to have good balanced hormones, men and women both, but men in particular, our main hormone is testosterone, and when you have it too high, and I've been there, right? I lived, for a few years when I was competing in bodybuilding, where my testosterone was way too high, and I can tell you that quiets your intuition. It makes your ego voice in your head a lot louder than your intuitive guidance in your heart. And when that voice is louder, you don't even realize when you're in the middle of it how you may be hurting someone or how you may be chasing validation or how you may be ruling by fear because you're really just a scared little kid within yourself. And that comes
Right.
down to like, okay, eventually you're going to have to face these daddy issues. Look at your relationship with your father, if you even know him, right? How is that relationship with your father? And if it was really bad when you were a kid, are you able to go back and heal that relationship with your father? Learn the lesson that he couldn't learn. That's the true flex, in my opinion. I was able to do that with my father when I was about 42, right? It took a while, but what I realized is, he went through some really bad stuff when he was younger, and he still can't talk about it to this day. But it gets stored in our body, it's stored in our fascia. So, when I was able to, help him kind of, cleared him out a little bit, I did a little bit of work on him and he was like blown away at how great he felt after we were done and he looked at me, I'll never forget, with these with this childlike amazement in his eyes. It's like, wow, you made it, you did it. like I can't
Wow.
I can't believe, after everything that's happened, everything we've been through, like you still have this gentleness in this, and the gentleness is true power because it's power rooted in humility and in humanity,
Mhm.
right? We are
Having
all,
empathy.
yeah, we are all here meant to bring each other home, share all the things that we've been through out there in the world, because a story of mine can help someone else going through something similar and get a little nugget of information. Then they can take that and start asking questions, start doing their work on themselves in the real world, right?
So, why do you think so many men struggle to express themselves? I was dating a man who was in his 50s, and I mean, I know that generation. They weren't taught how to express their emotions. They were told that if they weren't supposed to cry. So, but I also know men who are in their 30s who have a hard time expressing their emotions. So, why do you think that is? Why do you think that's still happening?
Because they don't feel safe. The central nervous
In their own
system
bodies or
in their own
in
body.
the world?
Well, both. That's
Okay.
a reflection, right? In the body is a reflection, as within, so without. And out in the
Mm,
world, it's starting to become safe, but you really have to intentionally create a space of safety, which is, in my opinion, really what, like, plant medicine ceremonies and like these yoga retreats and things like that. That's the intention behind them. To create a safe space to feel your feelings and let it out, and then also have support and understanding what these things are trying to teach you. Because sometimes when those feelings come out, right, whatever you went through when you were a child, those feelings come out, you have to re-feel all the things that you disassociated from when you were a kid. And some of those feelings suck, they're scary, and you don't really understand the process of how they clear out, how once you fully feel them and surrender and realize that you're safe, that it's gone, and then that rewires your central nervous system. You have to fully go through the process to really understand it. And most
yeah,
people have never been to the other side yet.
right.
So the first things first, men have to be willing to go into, number one, their vulnerability, because it requires vulnerability to even go into a safe place if you've never
Mm,
known it before, right? So once you can connect to your own vulnerability, which usually means that life has had to get pretty bad,
right.
right?
Yeah, it's true.
Then you go into your vulnerability, and then once you do that, you agree to surrender into a safe place. But you really don't know if it's safe until you get to the other side of that experience. So you
Right.
have to trust, and that trust builds faith, and that building faith requires you to face fear,
Yeah,
right? And it's that fear, the false evidence appearing real, that can manipulate and disguise itself as, no, this is wrong, no, this is bad, no, this is something's off here, right? So with your example with your ex, right? Whenever whenever there was a situation where there was some kind of conflict with you, when you would confront him, even if you weren't being confrontational, that makes him need to confront himself. So you're actually connecting to that 5, 6, 7-year-old child that doesn't know how to express it, and then you're
yeah,
asking, you're like, okay, I need answers, like, let's go, right? And then they revert to that version of themselves, and it gets stuck in the nervous system because the nervous system is not opened up yet. They're still in fight or flight,
totally. Yeah,
right?
I saw that little child in those moments.
Mm,
And until I broke that loop, like it's like you can't break that cycle unless they're willing to do the work. And it
exactly.
was like the same conversation over and over and over and over again. And I was blaming myself for it and trying to talk to him in different ways. And then in the end, I'm like, I just he needs someone like you to coach him, like he needs someone to tell him it's okay to feel. He needs a man in a leadership role to cry because like him and his dad and his brothers are all like that, like don't show your emotion. Don't surrender kind of thing. So it was really tough.
But you also have to understand too, like, because we have to hit this from multiple angles, right? You guys manifested each other for a reason,
Totally.
right? To teach each other something. So you clearly learned a very important lesson through that, right?
Yeah.
Now, with him, if he wasn't able to confront himself and learn that lesson, then he's going to probably like avoid relationships for a while because he doesn't want to deal with it, right? That's
I
a
wore
layer.
him out. I wore him
That's a layer of you go into hermit phase, but then you become hyper independent because you don't want to
Right.
just don't deal with it, right? Then from hyper independence, after a while, you get lonely. Then you go meet somebody else, but that someone else, because you're still vibrating at the same energy, is gonna the same exact thing is gonna happen over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And
totally.
eventually he will have to learn the lesson, or he's just gonna die old and lonely. And then
Yeah,
he'll have to come back and reincarnate and learn again.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
We don't just move on from the lesson. We continue to attract the same people, places, things based on the vibration and the frequency in order to learn. And it will get harder and harder and harder every cycle that we do that. But that's how karma works.
yeah, yeah,
So so really you need to be able to take a step back and, get that 30,000 foot perspective if you've gone through a lot of things in your life, and right now a lot of these cycles are kind of culminating into themselves. We're almost coming into this like 0 point or the singularity where all timelines, if you want to call it a timeline, or all these different learned lessons that our souls are needing to learn, it's bringing them all up together into this one big massive multi-layered lesson, right? Which is why podcasts like this are getting much more attention because people are like, "What is going on?
yeah,
I don't know." Like either right now, people's lives are either falling apart or they're starting to build in a very unexpected direction and way.
yeah.
Right? In
I
whichever
agree.
direction, whichever way that that's going, take a look. And either way, you're going to be facing parts of yourself that you haven't faced yet, right? Standing like for me, I feel my life is starting to finally take off in like a positive direction. And for me, it's been getting back out there into the world because I've been kind of in hermit mode for the last few years, right? And getting back out there in the world, I finally established a good, healthy relationship. And I had to
Mm,
learn through the process of learning how to communicate and be still and stick with the relationship through the good and the bad times to really feel safe on a deeper and deeper level, right? So now that I feel that and I have that support with a good woman behind me, now I can get out there into the world and I'm not so subject to the criticism. Because look, no matter what, no matter how positive my message is getting out there, there's going to be some troll out there that's going to have some kind of issue with what I'm saying. Like that
totally.
happens when you are authentic, right? So coming back out into the world in this new authenticity from years of me learning my own lessons presents its own imposter syndrome coming up, right? Like all these different parts of like needing to schedule my stuff better, needing to get things in alignment, needing to be able to speak my voice and share my truth no matter what I'm talking about and no matter what circumstance. And I can talk about it face to face, no problem, right? But when I start getting questions that are going out there to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, that's a whole different ballgame, right?
Very true. Yeah.
And you have to be mentally prepared for that to be able to own like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe you're right, and I'm not perfect, right? But I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to be real.
I
And
also know this. I also know this, Nahum. When I put a message out, um, everyone's going to receive that message where they're at in their emotional level, where they're at in that day. So they're going
right,
to
of
translate it by their level of emotional intelligence, or if they're having a shitty day, they're going to spin it in a negative way.
course.
So I have a hard time with it because I know it's going to reach the people. My message will reach the people that it needs to reach, but it's also going to stir up a lot of the darkness in people because I'm, shining a light on potentially some of their issues. And then that causes them to lash out in a way that they usually wouldn't do it if it was face to face. So I feel like it's a really difficult line to straddle. And I have a hard time taking someone seriously who comments on something that I do on social media if they're not willing to have a conversation.
I mean, yeah, me too, 100%. 100%.
Yeah,
Like anybody that can just go around, like just spreading negativity, that's an
yeah,
example of their life. And I kind of feel bad for those people. Because
yeah.
imagine
They're
how
having a
shitty
hard
their lives
time.
are.
Well, and then I was also talking to another man, and I was a little frustrated. I was saying, I'm putting out all this content in the hopes of helping people, in the hopes of, they're gonna want to do better for themselves. And I'm getting these comments from men toxic who have share that toxic masculinity that's really sexual, and it's all about
Mm.
my appearance, and it has nothing to do with my message. And he said to me, I'd love for you to comment on this. He said to me that most men don't know how to ask for help. So that's their way of communicating because that's what they've been taught. They've been taught to say something to a woman, like compliment her. But really, if you want to spin it, you could say, "Hey, thanks so much for reaching out and for complimenting me. Is there anything I could do to help you?" And he said, try that and see if it'll get them to open up a little bit. Because what we're talking about right now, men have a hard time opening up and being vulnerable. So that's the way that they're communicating.
Well,
What do you
that's
think about that?
I think that there's some truth to that, but there's also definitely some victim self-sabotaging statement in there too. Yes, it is true that men have a harder time than women to communicate their feelings. However, that is not an excuse to come at you with sexual innuendo or any kind of inappropriate nature, right?
That's how
That
I
is
felt. I
that is
felt
their
like,
dysfunction. And
yeah,
and and like then you gotta communicate, okay, well, I'm not okay with you talking to me like that. And they can reason it however they want to reason it, but that's their own shadow that they're projecting, right?
right.
So men, if you have a hard time communicating your emotions, then go figure it out, get help, talk to someone that knows how to understand it and how to break it down, okay? And don't make an excuse so that you can be disrespectful to a woman.
Mm,
Right?
yeah,
That's you can either find a way or find an excuse. And a real man will find a way. A little boy will find an excuse.
right. Yeah,
So
it's true.
and again, knowing yourself is also knowing where those projections are and then honoring yourself and not letting that mess with your mind. Because if that's messing with your mind, that's also an area that he hit in you that is not healed yet,
Yeah.
right? So there is no fault here per se. I feel like when we're when we live this growth oriented lifestyle, right? When we're wanting to grow and be the best version of ourselves, there's always something to learn from every interaction in every circumstance. All right,
Totally.
myself, I've learned a lot, but I still got a lot to learn, and I'm very openly aware of that. I'm by far, not perfect, and I never will be, at least not anytime soon. But I'm okay with that. I tried chasing perfection, at least in my physical body. I tried chasing
Mm,
perfection for a while when I was competing in bodybuilding. And I'll tell you what, when I was there was a while for like 3 years straight. I was about 200, I was about the same weight I am now, but I was like walked around at about 5% to 6% body fat, shredded year round for like 3.5 years straight. And I was
you
the
must have
most
been
miserable.
exhausted.
I was miserable. I was
Fuck.
completely miserable all the time. Now that, like, of course, I'm again balance, right?
I was just
Find
gonna say,
success,
like, how
find
do you
balance.
balance how do you balance the divine masculine and the divine feminine within yourself?
For me personally, and this is the way that I figured out for myself, is I do all my biohacking and all my plant medicine work. When I so say like when I'm prepping for an ayahuasca ceremony, right? I take 2 weeks, I cut out meat, I eat basically just like salads and soups for about 2 weeks. I cut out all my supplements. I even get off my testosterone that I'm on, and I just let my body rest and relax. And then I sit in this space of stillness for 3 days, no phone, no, like I'm just with the people that I'm with in ceremony, right? And we pray, we meditate, we rest, we chant, and we talk about our feelings. And
Mm,
then once I get that good reset, I come back out in the world, and then I'll get back on my supplements and then get back on my nutrition routine, and then start hitting the gym heavy again, right? But I even back off from the gym because you can't just go 24/7 without getting burnt out. Eventually, it's going to happen, right?
yeah.
So so for me, but
How did you quiet the voice in your mind? Because as a woman who struggled with perfectionism and um, really my masculine side was in control a lot of my life until recently. Like I was so just like always needed to be in control. And even this morning, like I'm pretty balanced now, but we talked before we hit record that I'm kind of feeling a bit under the weather. So this
Hmm.
morning I woke up late and I was feeling guilty because I didn't do my meditation and my breath work. And I'm so diligent, but I was still beating myself up over that shit. Like
And
it's crazy.
so you know the infinity symbol, right?
Yeah.
So the infinity symbol, and you can apply this to virtually everything, right? So one side is too much excess, or the beating yourself up for not doing this, that, and the other thing, right? The other side is trying to do too much. So
Mm.
the key is look, if you woke up and
I had the fight with both of those this morning.
well, but that's the thing, it's about the opposite.
Yeah.
It's about not fighting with it. That's the toxic masculinity, the
Yeah.
constant need to fight and figure it out. So whatever your body and your mind needs at that time, if you're exhausted and you can't meditate, just lay there and
Yeah.
not beat yourself up. Just accept that you need rest. Your body's not letting you do this for a reason, and trust it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, how do I silence my mind? I would say that I don't. I would say that I alchemize it and I channel it in as productive ways as I possibly can. So for me, the gym is my meditation, right?
Yeah.
When I connect my breath to and I treat moving weight like I do a moving meditation. I connect to my body. I visualize the muscle, contracting and expanding. I visualize the blood flow going in there, right? I use
Mm.
my breath to guide my movement. And I think that number one, it has a very powerful balancing effect on the nervous system. You see a lot of these guys when they're training in the gym, and they're just like, "Rah," like going super
Yeah.
super hard, right? And they're not breathing properly, and they're just lifting way too much weight with shitty form. Okay, that is ego
The
driven.
camera set up with a camera set up recording them.
Yes, yes, that is ego driven lifting. Like I lift most guys my size. I say I probably lift about half the weight that they do, but I change up the tempo. I connect to my breathing and I focus on the squeeze and the contraction and expansion of the tissue in my body, and then I stretch. And then in between sets, I'll sometimes I'll pose a little bit. Like posing is excellent, way to enhance training. But a lot of my stuff is internal. I don't need other people to see me, lifting ridiculous amounts of weight because I don't care what other people think. Right now,
Yeah.
maybe at one point in my life I did, but I channeled this depth through my body and through my mind so that I stay focused on one category of things. So and then and for me personally, whenever I am having like a tough time or I'm exhausted or my mind is going batty and I can't slow it down, I use my sound lounge. I lay on my sound lounge, which is a vibroacoustic, basically massage table. It just vibrates, and I throw on some medicine music, and I'll sing or I'll just listen and I'll just feel the vibration. And the key here is to be able to use your breath to neutralize or balance the nervous system. The nervous system controls everything, right?
Totally.
So when you can consciously use your breath or use vibration to balance out and hack into your nervous system, and you can balance it out and relax it, that in and of itself will slow your mind down,
Yeah. You know what I
right?
do before every show? I
What's
jump
that?
around. I jump around and I dance and I like just get myself amped up and I shake my arms out and then I
There
dance
you
some
go.
more and then I'm like all the blood's flowing and I just feel like and then I'm
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
So you're doing the same thing and just, put different words to it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
grounding. It's all
So
about grounding the body.
grounding. Yeah. Proper meditation essentially is grounding.
Yeah.
Right? So um, everybody has their own way that they do this, right? Like a breath work practice. Like I do breath work in combination with my training. I'm not big on just doing breath work by itself. It just doesn't really, I don't really feel like the super net positive benefit that a lot of people do from that. Maybe
Mm.
because I've just done so much plant medicine, and that's kind of my jam. But weightlifting, with
Yeah,
proper techniques.
you've expanded so much that the breath work won't get you there.
Yeah, yeah, but I do believe breath work is incredibly important, and
Oh,
everybody
it's
has
so
their
yeah,
own
it
way
activates
they
the
can utilize it.
cells, right? The cells start vibrating and it's like
Well, there
oxygenating.
are there are many different ways that you can do breath work that have different effects. You can do
Yeah,
stimulating or relaxing breath work. You can do breath
yeah,
work to stimulate DMT. You can do breath work to stimulate digestion, right? There's all different
yeah.
kinds of ways you can do it. You have to really
And
know
detox.
what you need.
There's
Yes,
a halo
detox is
breathing. You
huge,
detox your blood.
right? The thing I find
DMT
fascinating
is my favorite. I'm addicted to
was
that one.
that
I do that one most of the time.
the DMT breath work. Oh yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah, DMT is
And I
awesome.
put a little bit of cistus oil on my third eye, and then I
Okay,
just like float. And I feel like
there you
I like
go.
float in through all the dimensions. Yeah, it's so much fun.
You would absolutely love to do that on a sound lounge because it would enhance it like fivefold.
Wow. Well, I need to
Yeah.
try that. I've never tried that before.
Oh man, it's my one of my best friends is the founder of this company In Harmony, and he
Mm,
has created some of the coolest vibroacoustic technology out there on the market, and it is super
wow.
powerful, especially for PTSD and TBI. But it there's been scientific studies done with actually this brand that show that there's a 90% improvement in balancing of the nervous system within I think 30 minutes of laying on this
Wow.
thing with certain binaural beats. Yeah, it's
Wow. I'm
pretty
seeing
powerful
that
stuff.
everywhere. Like you go on TikTok and it's like, listen to this golden, I forget what they're called, but all these tones and these frequencies and this one within 2 seconds, my brain felt just like it cleared immediately.
Yeah,
So
there are
frequency
electromagnetic
and
beams.
sound is huge. What's that?
Yeah, I personally believe that is the medicine of the future. Different technologies with
Frequency, yeah.
frequency and
We're all gonna
vibration.
be laying on those sound beds that vibrate.
Yeah, that's what I use, and it's very powerful.
Mm,
So frequency and vibration. Knowing what you want and who you are as well is very important. Sometimes we have to go through difficult times because we'll think we know what we want, right? Case in point, like when I joined the military when I was younger, through all my environment, I was taught that that's the honorable, beautiful thing to do. And then, of course, 9/11
mm.
happened, and I was like, I got to do my duty. And when I went over there, I realized that it wasn't really what I was told it was. At least ethically and morally, I
What do you
started to
mean by
realize
that?
it
Tell it,
was
like, what do you mean by that?
like they plant in your mind that it's honorable and cool to kill other people that disagree with your country's ideologies when it's actually
How do you handle that? Like, I can't imagine. So I
well,
mean,
I
you
didn't really
get
handle
over
it very
there and
well.
what's that?
I didn't really handle it very well, once I figured this out because I was already in Iraq and there was not much I could do about it,
That's what
right?
I
So
mean. Like you're there and you're like, shit. Like that must have been so hard for you.
it was, and that was really, my first spiritual awakening, I feel, where I had this massive identity crisis and I just couldn't do the job that I did before. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? And I got in a lot of trouble because of it. But I made it through because there was a period of time where I didn't know if I was going to make it back, but I
Yeah.
did, and there's obviously a very important reason for it, and I'm super
There
grateful. But
is.
I had
And
to
you're
learn that
doing it.
lesson. I had to learn that lesson the hard way for sure.
Tell us about your book, and tell us where people can find out more information about you.
So my book, The Biohacker's Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding, is really all about these topics that we spoke about today and more, really breaking down step by step, whatever it is that you're drawn to or however you're living your life, what it means spiritually, and how do you get back on track to live a healthy, longevity-based fitness lifestyle, and avoid the pitfalls that all the propaganda and the lifestyle inherently invite you into, because it can be a bit treacherous when you're unaware of it.
Yeah.
And you can find me. I am the Spiritual Bodybuilder on Instagram, and my website is also spiritualbodybuilder.com. And my YouTube is also Spiritual Bodybuilder. So I like to keep it pretty straightforward and simple.
Yes, yes, you're easy to find. You have that little mark beside your name as well.
Do I?
Do you? I thought
Is
you
it?
did.
I don't think I have it verified. I didn't really understand the point in the verification thing, but maybe I should do that, huh?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it just adds valid. You're pretty valid. You're authentic
I
and
like to think
valid.
so. Yeah. I mean, so
Well,
far I haven't found anybody to try to steal or like duplicate my page or anything. So if that happens, I probably will.
good, good. Yeah. I could see people trying to impersonate you for sure. So be careful. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
I
And
will be careful.
anybody out there, you guys, he's legit. So make sure you're going on the right website. Um,
Thank you very
Before
much.
we wrap up, do you have any last minute thoughts? Maybe if a man out there is just feeling ashamed of his masculine energy, or do you have a message for that man?
Reach out to me. Let's talk. Either me or somebody else that you feel has a message that you resonate with, right? And there are many ways to be able to go within and do the inner work to be able to connect to yourself and break through to the other side where it is that you want to be. But I would say that if you are feeling stuck or lost or confused about where you're at in life, having a good guide or mentor or coach to be able to help you understand what's going on with you, not tell you how they did it, but help you understand your behavior patterns so that you could find your own way and be guided in a healthy way. That's what I do, and I'm here to serve and to help. So, come on over.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here and talking about this really important topic.
It's been my pleasure, my honor. Lisa, I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And to our audience, if you've been taught a certain way, it's not your fault. We've all been taught a certain way. It's our job to unlearn and learn how to live to be our true selves. So stop shaming yourself, stop feeling guilty, and take the first step. Reach out for help. Until next time, take care, everybody.